of the vote of the urban vote, split between 4 cities. You got Danbury, New Britain, Meriden, and Waterbury. If you could get 48% of the vote, split between those 4 cities, you could actually flip this district, because our Cook partisan index rating is a D+3 rated district. I'm pretty sure some of you or all of you may know what your Cook PVI is. That's how, for those of you that may not know what a Cook partisan index rating is, that's how they rate the congressional districts throughout the country. It's called the Cook PVI. And it's based upon the last presidential election. In this sense, our Cook PVI is a D+3. It's based upon, I believe right now, the 2020 presidential election cycle. And the D stands for Democrat, we're in the Democrat district. And the plus stands for more, as obviously, and the 3 stands for the points. So that means that the president election, Joe Biden won the 5th district by 3 points above the national average. To give this in comparison, District 4, which is, they have the most Democrats in the entire state. We have the least amount in the entire state, the 5th district. District 4, where Jim Hines is at, we got Bridgeport, we got Norwalk, Stanford, Greenwich. Their Cook PVI is a D+13. John Larson's district, District 1, is a D+12. Rosa DeLaura's district is a D+8. And the only one close enough to be able to flip, which is going to be very difficult, is Joe Courtney's district, is District 3. And the reason why his district is going to be very difficult is because he's the least disliked congressional representative in the state, and they got a lot of things going on out there with electric vote and the Groton subbase and the casino. District 5, we have nothing. Johanna Hayes has done absolutely nothing for our district. But the reason why George Logan wasn't able to pull off a victory was because, one, he did no urban outreach, even though you may think he did. He didn't. I voted for him, and I watched him. He did not come into the urban community, and one of the reasons was he was intimidated. He really wasn't from our district. He's from District 3. He's from Ian Sonia. He got an apartment in Meriden to say that he was from the district. Nobody knew who he was. He would not go to any other events. Me, I've been to Soul Fest. That's one of the events that Johanna Hayes sponsors in the city of Waterbury. I go to the Boricua Festivals in Waterbury. My wife is Puerto Rican. She's bilingual. We got the Hispanic churches behind us. We had a walk for Jesus back in 2024 before the presidential election. George Logan attended that event, and before I turned my head around, he was in his car and he was gone. He came out there for a photo op. We had over 3,000 people. He didn't speak to anybody. That's why you lost your election. So, just like New Milford. Went to New Milford, went to the RTC, spoke to them. They told me, I'm gonna tell you like we told George, we got your back, but don't come back here. Stay in the city. That's where we need you. Because you're not gonna flip anything. And the reason why we lost 29 local municipals, it wasn't because of Democrats, it was because Republicans stayed at home. I just came back from Arizona. I went to AmFest, Turning Point USA. Me and my wife, we flew out there, and I met several leaders that are running for Congress and members of the Senate. And I met people from Turning Point Action, and they actually told me that with a Cook PVI, as long as your Republican base turns out, and you can shave off a little bit of the vote from the Democrats, you can flip that district. My goal, because I know Johanna Hayes extremely well, I'll tell you how well. My sister used to date a brother for 5 years, and a good friend of mine has a kid with her. I know her extremely well. I know all her secrets. I know what's in her closet. I put everything about me is on Front Street. I put it on my Facebook page. I put it on my website. I have nothing to hide. Actually, my past is very important for us to win this election. For those of you that don't know my past, which I will give you cards and time cards with the QR codes to my website for you all to go on there and look. I was wrongfully incarcerated. I grew up in the city of Waterbury during the height of the crack cocaine epidemic. Back in I was born in 1978. My grandfather immigrated to America from West Africa, from the Portuguese colony of the Cape Verde Islands. That's why I have a Portuguese last name. My mother came from the South, from Jacksonville, North Carolina. She was born in 1940. She came up here in 1946 when Waterbury was the brass capital of the world. All the factories, we had people immigrating, coming to America legally for work. But unfortunately, by the time I was born in 1878, a lot of jobs got outsourced and a lot of the factories closed down, and that's when the drugs and crimes came into the community, and that's the environment I was raised in. At one point in time in the 90s, I was attacked by some gang members in my city. I was forced to defend myself using deadly force. One of the deceased perpetrator in the case had a loaded firearm. I claimed self-defense. The district attorney, who had the case at the time, who was a Democrat, wanted to secure a murder conviction, so they concealed this evidence from the jury in my trial. I was convicted of murder, received a life sentence. I fought my charges. My family gathered up resources from family members, from whoever they could find, and they raised about $60,000. And I hired John R. Goulage from Bridgeport, Connecticut, and he found all the loopholes in the case, and he found how they hid this evidence, and a three-judge panel later overturned my conviction, and I was released from prison. But you know how they always want to stack charges on top of charges, especially when a situation like that. Eventually, because of everything that I had, all the evidence, I presented it to the pardon board and I showed them, and they gave me a full and absolute pardon. I have my pistol permit, I'm a member of the NRA, the USCCA. I've been out of prison for over 10 years. I'm a homeowner. I did not receive money like other people who were going to be incarcerated. I worked, and me and my wife, we bought our own home. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a registered voter. I'm a Christian. I go to Calvary Life Church in Chester, Connecticut. I'm a pro-life candidate as well. So I got invited to the Trump House. the White House by the Trump administration back in July. I met with Lynn Patton, who's the deputy assistant for President Trump's urban outreach team. Lynn Patton, she's an African-American woman. She's been with the Trump organization for 30 years before he even got into politics. She's like a daughter to him. She's part of his team, and she told me to my face that I'm everything that they're looking for an endorsement. She said she's going to do everything that she can to help me get the Trump endorsement, and because they know that I'm not bought. I was offered an opportunity to get a cross endorsement by the Independent Party. I sat down with a gentleman from them. I did not request this meeting. They requested the meeting with me, and during this conversation, I felt it kind of odd because they found me early. When I first filed with the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, they already knew I was an active candidate, so they wanted to meet me early. And I brought two witnesses, two members of the Waterbury RTC. I belong to the Plymouth RTC. I live in Terryville, Connecticut. That's my RTC. But I brought members from the Waterbury RTC that was there because I didn't feel comfortable going to this meeting alone. And they sat here and they listened and they overheard the whole conversation. I was offered cross endorsement. So I asked the gentleman from the Independent Party, what policies does the Independent Party have that they think will align with me in my campaign? Since I haven't released my policies, at that time, they're online now. And he says, well, it all depends. I said, oh, it depends on what? He said, it depends on the candidate. So I asked him, well, name me 3 policies that you won't compromise on. And he said, it depends on the candidate. So you know what he says? He's a black man Marine. So they probably sent him purposely to try to get me to agree to what I. But this is what happens after I started asking him so many questions, which are simple questions. But to him, he wasn't expecting that. He thought I was just gonna, I want the endorsement. I want to know who will be an endorsement, right? So he didn't want to give me his policies. He says, so they compromise on their policies. They'll fluctuate. That's why the Independent Party, they endorse Democrats and Republicans. They just want ballot access. So he said to me that he could possibly get me a campaign contribution from Eversource. So I said, why would Eversource? And he said 400. He said I could possibly get you a campaign. Well, he says we, meaning the Independent Party. We could probably possibly get you a campaign contribution from Eversource for $100,000. So I said, why would Eversource want to give me $100,000? So I tell him to his face, and I'm gonna say it the way I said it. Stop the bullshit. who sent you and what do you want? He starts to laugh, just like you laugh. And he says, the chairman of my party